Dear learners, today I am going to discuss about the challenges of the rule of law. And this is very important parts of the competitive government and politics. The rule of law is a foundational principles that asserts that all individuals and institutions are subject to and accountable under the law, which is fairly applied and enforced. However, maintaining the rule of law faces several significant challenges before the details explanations of these things. Judicial independence, that is political pressures. Judges may be face pressures from the political actors who seek to influence their decision to serve the political interest. This undermines the interdependence of the judiciary and the fair applications of the law. Second challenge before the rule of law, that is the corruptions. In some jurisdictions, corruptions within the judiciary can lead to the vastness rulings, eroding public confidence in the legal systems and the rule of law. That means that these are the two important challenges before the rule of law. One is the political pressures on influencing influences, and second is corruptions. Next challenge is before the rule of law, that is corruptions and abuse of power. When talking about the corruptions, that means government officials are corrupt. They may manipulating the legal systems to protect themselves or their allies from the persecutions, undermining the rule of law. Second is impunity. When powerful individuals or groups are not held accountable for their actions, it creates a culture of impunity where the law is applied unequally and selectively. These are the important challenge before the rule of law. Next challenge, that is big legal institutions. When we're talking about the big legal institutions, that is underfunded courts that lack inadequate funding may be suffer from delay in proceedings, backlogs of cases, and limited access to the justice, which undermine the effectiveness of the rule of law. Second is lack of professionalism. In some legal systems, judges and lawyers may lack the necessary trainings on resources to effectively uphold the law and leading to a miscarriage of justice and erosions of public trust. This is very important parts of the challenges before the law. Next challenge is that is selective enforcements. Discriminatory practices. The law may be applied unevenly with the certain groups facing harsher penalty or being targeted more frequently by the law enforcement, leading to a perceptions of injustice and inequality before the law. Second challenge before the law of the selective enforcement, that is political targetings. Government may be use the legal system to target political opponents, activists or minority groups are undermining the impartiality of law. That means the selective enforcement is practicing the some kind of the discriminatory practices. The law may be applied unevenly with the certain groups facing harassers penalty or being targeted more frequently by the law enforcement, leading to perceptions of injustice and equality before the law. And political targetings, government may use the legal systems to target political opponents, activists, or minority groups to undermining the impartiality of the law. This is very important part. Second important things that is related to the enforcements of constitutional provisions. This is political big institutions. In some country, the institutions are responsible for upholding the constitutions, such as the judiciary or independent electoral body, may be weak, corrupt, or lack of independence. This undermines the effectiveness of the constitutionalism. Next, that is called the political will. Even with the strong institutions, the effective enforcement of the constitutional provisions depend upon the political will of those in power. If political leaders are not committed to upholding the constitutions or constitutionalism, can be seriously compromised. This is also the challenge before the rule of law. Next is that is access to justice. When we're talking about the access to justice, there are so many barriers, that is economic barriers, legal representations, and access to court can be prohibitory, expensive, meaning that justice is often inaccessible to the poor individuals and community and compromising the rule of law. Geographical barriers. In some regions, particularly rural or remote area, access to legal services may be limited or non-existent, making it difficult for individuals to seek redressals for grievances. Legal challenges before the rule of law, that is legal complexity. Overly complex law, when law are too complex, they become difficult for ordinary citizens to understand the follow. This complexity can also lead to inconsistent enforcements and interpretations, weakening the rule of law. This is very important things. Next important thing, that is frequent legal challenges. Constant challenges to the legal framework can create confusions and uncertainty, making it difficult for individuals and business to compile with the law. This is also very important parts. Next important things, that is before challenges of the rule of law, that is human right violations. A state sponsors abuse. In some states, government itself may violate human rights such as through the unlawful detentions, tortures, extrajudicial killings. These actions directly contravene the rule of law. Failure to protect. The rule of law requires that a state protect individuals from the human rights abused by non-state actors such as criminals, organizations, or abuse employers. When a state fails to do so, they fail to uphold the rule of law. Next is that is political instability. That means weak states in country with weak or failure state, the rule of law often collapse as government institutions are unable to enforce the law effectively. This can lead to the lawlessness with individuals and groups taking the law into their own hands. Conflict zones. This is also a challenge before the rule of law. Conflict zones in the case area of armed conflicts and the rule of law is often severely compromised with the law being ignored or replaced by arbitrary rule by force. This, these are the important challenges before the rule of law. Now come to the public perceptions and trust. Erosions of trust. When citizens lost trust in legal institutions due to corruptions, biasness, or ineffectiveness, they may become less likely to comply with the law or undermining the rule of law. Vigilantisms. In the absence of trust in the legal systems, community may resort to vigilantisms, taking the law into their own hands, which can lead to further erosions of the rule of law. This is very important parts of the some kind of the public perceptions and the trust. International and transnational challenges, that is called the globalizations. The rise of transnational crime such as human trafficking, cyber crimes, and terrorism present challenges for national legal systems which may lack the capacity to address these issues effectively within the frameworks or the rule of law. Second important thing, that is international law conflicts. There can be conflicts between the national law and international legal obligations, particularly in such area or such human rights that is trade or environmental protections, creating challenge for the consistent applications of the rule of law. Challenges of the rule of law during the emergency power or national security. Abuse of emergency powers. Government may invoke emergency powers in the times of crisis, such as during the national security threats or public health emergency. While sometimes necessary, these powers can be abused to bypass the legal constraints and infringing the civil liberty. Second important thing, that is balancing security and liberty, ensuring national security while respecting individuals' freedoms and maintaining the rule of law is delicate balance. Overemphasis on security can lead to the erosions of the rule of law. Next is that is the systematic inequality. Social and economic inequality can lead to the disparity in how individuals are treated under the law. For examples, whether individuals may be able to afford better legal representations, leading to unequal outcomes in legal proceedings. Next is that is discriminations. Certain groups may face systematic discriminations within the legal systems, whether based on the race, gender, ethnicity, or other characteristics which undermine the principles of equality before the law. These are the very important challenge of the rule of law, that is systematic inequality, social and economic inequality and discriminations may be on the basis of whether based on race, gender, ethnicity or other characteristics which undermine the principles of equality before the law. Next challenge is of the rule of law, that is implementations of the law. Lack of enforcements. Even bail-craft law can be ineffectively if they are not properly enforced. This can occur due to the lack of resources, corruptions, or political intervention. Inconsistent applications. This is also very important. When law are applied inconsistently, it creates uncertainty and undermining the predictability that essential to the rule of law. This is very important parts of the challenges. Next challenges before the law, that is legislative overreach. Over criminalizations, this proliferations of over criminalizations, the proliferations of law regulations, particularly criminal law, can lead to the over criminalizations where minors interventions are punished harshly. This can overwhelm the legal systems and result in just outcomes. Executive overreach. When executive branch of government exceed its legal authority, it can undermine the balance of powers and the rule of law. This is very important challenge before the rule of law. Over criminalizations or over some kind of the over executive reach. And we can conclude here that is these challenges demonstrate that upholding the rule of law is a complex and ongoing process that require constant vigilance, robust institutions, and a committed to fairness and justice. Addressing these challenges is essential for maintaining a just and orderly society. These are the important challenges before the law. Thank you for hearing the lectures on the challenges before the law. Thanks once again.